Hello everybody, happy Friday. I have a message I want to share. So a few days ago there was an article in the Enquirer, which was originally written in the Courier-Journal about me, and I wanted to kind of in one fell swoop here just address some questions that I've gotten about that. When I started making these Facebook videos initially, the kind of basic premise was that I was having a lot of the same conversations over and over again and answering a lot of the same questions, and really didn't have time to have individual conversations. And so I just thought, well, let me just say what I have to say about the subject matter and put it out there, and those that want to know can find it. And that was the idea, and that's kind of the idea again. But I wanted to make this video for a lot of reasons, but maybe the most important, which is this. Look, I'm trying to be a part of something here that is way bigger than myself, and in that regard, represent kind of the cause, such as it is, and it's a really noble, worthy cause. And I've been given very expressly the responsibility of speaking on a lot of people's behalf, a growing number, even still. And I take that responsibility seriously, and I think that if you accept that responsibility, you have to be accountable for it. So I think we can agree on this. If the article in the newspaper is about the messenger and not the message, then the messenger screwed up, and that's really the only salient point. So clearly I have here, and I wanted to acknowledge that, say a few things about the things that were said in the article, best I can, and just stand up about it and handle this the way that I think the men and women that raised me, if you will, as a lawyer, as a man, as a parent, as a citizen, I think would want me to handle it the right way, if you will, in an honorable way, in a way that shows a little character. I think it's important, to not do otherwise. So that's why I'm making this video. So first thing I want to say is I did not, absolutely, did not intend to threaten anyone, and would never want to do that, especially physically, especially anybody associated with the court system, private litigants, judicial actors. My goodness, if I say anything at all that could even be construed, which clearly, it could even be construed as suggesting that, that's failure. That's failure. There's a lot of explanations. There's a lot of information I can provide, and I think that's helpful in part. But the message basically is this. The standard for me is this. If I say anything that could be construed that way, then I have made a mistake and I failed. So I wanted to own that failure, take responsibility for it, stand up and acknowledge that, and resolve moving forward to learn that lesson. And I think that a front page article in the local paper is a good way to learn a lesson, and in that way I look at it constructively. I wanted to apologize to anybody who sincerely took the video to suggest sincerely any kind of threat at all, especially a threat of physical harm. Would never do that. I would like to think that my life's work on the whole reflects a commitment to the rule of law, and a commitment and belief in our system, the very opposite of which is vigilante justice, or self-help justice in that way. So that's important to me. I want to say that straightforward and head on, and my sincere apologies for that, and would seek forgiveness in that way from anyone who suffered any kind of anxiety or anything else on account of the words I said. A brief explanation, I think, probably is in order. there's not a lot of time to explain the whole deal, but the gist of it is I had some business in Kenton family courts along the way. I raised some objections. A lot of other people had the same objections and thought the same thing. Over a short period of time, it became clear to me that I was speaking on not only my own behalf, but for the people. Over time, people told me I was. A sense of responsibility came in. And there were events, I made videos, and they were of tremendous public import, maybe not import, but interest, far beyond anything that I had anticipated. I continued to make them. I'm making them still. Other platforms developed, but that was the basic one. And there's a library of videos, as most of you know. Over time, it's become increasingly difficult to find ways that aren't boring to talk to folks and make a point. I can only imagine it's difficult to, at times, it's not very interesting to hear me stand in front of the podium and say certain things, or sit in my office and say certain things. And so I've tried to vary my method of expression. We can agree that, taking a menacing and harsh tone in the way I did in the video, without taking greater precautions to make sure that, things weren't misconstrued, it's not the way to do that. So again, lesson learned, but it was simply not intended for the audience that saw it. That's my mistake. For the construction that it was capable of, that's my mistake. And that's why I took it down, within 24 hours. Nonetheless, I think the right way to do this in these circumstances is to focus not on my intent, but on the impact of others. And it doesn't really matter what my intent was in the end. If the impact at all was what was suggested in the Enquirer article, then I failed in that regard. And I wanted to own that and apologize for it and stand up about it. That's what I have to say about the video in the article. Well, Ben, what is this about? Some kind of referral to the Attorney General. Okay, well, I don't know anything about that. I quite literally don't know anything about that. There's been a lot of things that have been written and said, and I assume that if something were going on, somebody would contact me. That hasn't happened. But the bottom line is this, and a consistent theme here is this: we have legal processes in place. I believe in them. I trust them. And I don't think it would be appropriate to comment on things until that process has run its course. And all of the subject matter that in general that is implicated here, we're to the extent that I know about it. It is confusing to me, but all I can say is I think it's important that we let the process that we have in place run its course. So I don't know anything about that, but if there were such a referral, if something is going on then there's a process for that. Let's let it run its course. People are allowed to write what they want to write. People are allowed to say what they want to say. People are allowed to allege what they want to allege. And if I've done something wrong in any respect, I'm accountable for that, same as anybody else. Nobody's told me that, but let's let processes run. I'm not aware of anything about Attorney General kind of involvement, but if that happens, then we handle it the same way. Then what is this about? Your law license being suspended in Kentucky, or some kind of steps being taken about that? Well, here again, on this one, there are rules in place about what we can say and what we can't say about that, whether that's happening, whether it's not. So I can't talk about that, but again, as to everything else, there's a process in place, and if anything is alleged anywhere, then let's let the process play out, and just be truthful and honest about things, and that's where we end up on that. So I couldn't talk about that even if I knew something about it. Okay, but I wanted to address that part of what was said. well, Ben, what about all this salacious stuff that is all over the article that, you know, makes you look horrible, and these are horrible things? What do you guys say about that? Well, here again, I confess, same answer in this regard. I think it is really important to let the processes that we have in place play out. They haven't. I'm confused about a lot of things, okay, that have been written and said, but I don't really concern myself with that confusion at this point, because what matters is, you know, kind of the end and not the beginning. And you know, I don't really know about that stuff, but I think that it makes sense to let the process play out the way it's supposed to play out. And in the end, if there is something to talk about, then that would be the time to talk about it. But I want to respect the process. I don't really know much about all that stuff. I'm confused by a lot, which is kind of one of the overall points here. But I'm sorry that I can't do any better than that on those things. So, you know, at least at a high level, I hope that kind of addresses some of the obvious questions from the article. I would add the following, you know, kind of comments. I'm not that special, okay? We all know this. As much as I would maybe like to think that I am, I'm not. I wasn't before. I started making these videos and talking about this stuff and trying to advocate for the cause that I've advocated for. I probably will not be after, you know, kind of all this is done, whatever that is. So anytime we have an article in the paper, much less one on the front page, that is about little old me, especially where there's been nothing's happened, there's no event, I think we can safely conclude it's probably not about me. I'm not front page material. Now, the things that I've been trying to talk about are, and you know, things like the integrity of the judicial system, the fundamental importance of the rule of law as a grounding of our system, and this basic idea, this very basic idea that I would hope we could all get behind, which is that all of us are equal in the eyes of the law. Those things, to me, are definitely front page material. Those things are worth speaking out and up about. And we only have those things if we have a system where we do things the right way, we follow the rules, and there's integrity of the process. The public is entitled to that. They pay for this stuff. The system's founded on it, and that's important. So, you know, throughout all of these videos, unfortunately, not the one that gave rise to the article, I've tried to take pains to say a couple things that our goal is constructive, that we're positive, that we condemn violence of any kind, that this isn't about retribution, punishment. It's not personal to anybody, most especially not myself. It is about achieving positive change, reforming the system, and a renewed commitment to the rule of law. And I didn't do a great job of maybe making that clear as context to, in making the point that I tried to make the way I tried to make it in the video in question, and that again is on me. But I think it's really important to emphasize that again, especially now, that this is about those things, and those things are really important, and I think it's important to stand up for them. I think it's important to speak out about them, and I think they are matters of public concern, and given the interest in the subject matter, clearly they are. So I take the responsibility to kind of, you know, speak to the extent that officially or unofficially I've been handed that mantle for those of us that want to see what we want to see and to accomplish the positive change that we do. And I mean, in the end, it is simply about making the world a better place. It just really is. And that's the message. So I appreciate those who've taken an interest. Again, I want to emphasize, you know, my ownership of any mistakes in the messaging here, because the message is very much worthwhile. The messenger is very flawed. I appreciate the opportunity to grow and get better, and to by acknowledging those mistakes. And again, most of all, I apologize to anyone who would ever sincerely believe that anything I said or did was intended to threaten them or cause them any kind of threat of physical harm. Just wrong. So happy Friday. Have a great weekend. Happy holidays, and God bless you. Thank you.